So I wanted to do a really quick video just to show the new Swift RL Petzl head torch versus Reactik Plus. So I got the Reactik Plus for my Christmas present to myself last year, and this year I saw the new one had come out, so I got that. The main difference is the brightness. The Reactik Plus, the spec was 300 lumens, whereas the Swift RL is 900 lumens. Now I'm not sure how they're measuring this, because I suspect I don't think it's 3 times brighter. The other issue is that on the full brightness modes, the Swift RL only, I believe, is 500 lumens, so you can't really test it. On the Reactik Plus, if I cover up the light sensor, it seems to go full brightness to me, because it's got quite a hard plastic case, and there's a good separation, I think, between the sensor and the lights. On the Swift RL, when I cover this up, it will not go to full brightness. I'm guessing there's light leakage within the housing, but when I go outside, it's definitely brighter. The light is more pleasing, so on the Reactik Plus, it's more of a spot in the middle of the beam, and it's a slightly warmer light. The Swift RL is a slightly colder, bluer light, but the spot is wider, so it's more of a blend between the spot and the wide lights, so that's a good. The Reactik Plus was, I think, overly complicated. It had the Bluetooth, which was kind of a gimmick, although I did use it to set my 2 bright levels. It had 2 buttons, so you have the first button, which is the reactive mode, so it'll get brighter, and you can have the 2 levels. I have the 2 levels there. So it's bright in here, so it won't go full, it won't light the second light, but that's reactive mode. And then the second button is for the constant mode, so that won't change with the sensor, and you can have it on the brighter setting. And to turn it off, you hold the top button down, and yeah, that's your 2 modes. With the Swift RL, there's no Bluetooth, there's only 1 button. You push it on, it gives you the 3 levels of sensor mode. Again, it won't go full brightness in here because it just leaks through, but outside in the dark it does work. And if you hold, you'll go to your full brightness, the fixed brightness modes. So you've got the first, second and third, and they won't change with the sensor, but you don't get the full brightness. There's no red light, but it does have this clever lock where the switch just slides across and it won't move, which is much simpler and easier. The Reactik Plus had the 2, the lock mode, which I could never get to work when I didn't want to. The battery level indicator is better. So on the old Reactik, you just got the little light on the side which would show green, and then I think would show yellow when it was low or red. On the Reactik, you've got a little 5-bar graph, so when it's turned off, it'll show you that's 3 bars showing, so you can see that level. So the other difference is the charging port. So on the Reactik Plus, you have to pull up this awkward rubber flap, and then the charging socket is underneath, which works, but it's just fiddly, and I was never sure how waterproof that would be. On the Swift RL, the charging socket is moved underneath, and it's just a waterproof, proper micro USB port, which is nice. And I much prefer it to the square socket on the Petzl Bindi, which you're never quite sure which way around to plug the cable in. This way it's really clear and not easy to get it the wrong way around. In terms of how they work, they both have the light sensitive reaction. I feel that the Swift RL is got slightly like a stepped gradient, so you can't really see it on the camera, but when you're putting your hand up and it drops down, it sometimes feels like it's clicking between a few steps. But it's absolutely fine, and both of them work brilliantly with the reaction lighting, which I think is the standout feature. My sort of summary really is, I think I like the Swift RL. I like that it's back to basics, it's simpler. It annoys me it doesn't have the 1 button off, whereas with all of the other Petzls, even the very cheap Zipkas, if you turn them on the low level, once they've been on for 8 seconds, then they will just turn off with 1 press, which makes sense to me. It's a really logical feature. So that's been 8 seconds, so I can just turn that one off. But the Swift RL will always go through all 3 levels before it turns off, which just feels cheap to me. I like the battery indicator is better. The beam pattern I like. It's nice, it's no difference in comfort really. It's very slightly smaller, but it still doesn't really fit in the Noctilite housing. So yeah, overall I think it's too expensive. This I can understand was expensive because it was Bluetooth and had these extra features. But I feel that Petzl should have dropped the price down for this Swift RL because it is much more basic. It has no Bluetooth. It just has the one button. It's obviously brighter, but I don't think it's 3 times brighter for normal use. So yeah, I think if this was around the sort of RRP £60 mark, I think that would make it a really excellent product. I think it's a little overpriced as it is, but it's still a really nice head torch. So for me, it's still a good one to have, and it's the one I use a lot, to be honest, just as a grab and go. Hope that's useful.